Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Excellencies Rector of Universitas Jember, Dr. Engineer Iwan Taruna. The Honorable Program Committee of WALCOM 2022, Professor Saidur Rahman. Organizing Committee Chair of WALCOM 2022, First Vice Rector, Professor Dr. Andes Lamin, PhD. Second Vice Rector of Universitas Jember, Dr. Sri Hernawati. Invited speakers, Professor Hans L. Botlander from Utrecht University and Technical University Eindhoven, the Netherlands. Professor Tiziana Calamoneri from University of Rome, Sapienza, Italy. Professor Takahiro Ito from Tohoku University, Japan. And of course, we would like to welcome all of the guests and participants for today's agenda. First of all, let us express our gratitude to God for the blessing and the guidance that we've given to all of us, so that we can come and join in this event without any obstacles in the 16th International Conference and Workshops on Algorithm and Computations WALCOM 2022. Ladies and gentlemen, the following agenda for today's conference are: the first one is singing Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, and Hymn of Universitas Jember. The second one, traditional dance performed. The third one, welcome speech from Organizing Committee Chair of WALCOM 2022, Professor Dr. Andes Lamin, PhD. The fourth one, forward by Program Committee of WALCOM 2022, Professor Saidur Rahman. Welcoming remarks by Rector of Universitas Jember. Opening, praying, photo session, and the last one is closing. Ladies and gentlemen, the first agenda for today's event are singing Indonesia National Anthem, Indonesia Raya, and Hymn of Universitas Jember. We would like to invite all of the audiences to stand up. following agenda is a traditional dance performed by students of Universitas Jember, named Tari Gambyong Marikangan, which has the philosophy of being a dance to welcome the guests in a traditional palace ceremony. Please welcome Gambyong Marikangan Dance. The next agenda is welcome speech from Chairman of 16th WALCOM 2022. We invite Professor Dr. Andres Lamin, PhD. Please, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, some participant from Asia, and probably it's early morning in Europe, and also I think afternoon in Australia, and evening in America. His Excellency Rektor Universitas Jember, Bapak Dr. Iwan Taruna, Honorable Second Vice Rector Universitas Jember, Ibu Dr. Sri Hernawati, Heads of Bureaus, ya, Bapak Jasuli dan Ibu Endang, Honorable Program Committees, ya, Professor Syaidur Rahman from Bangladesh University of Engineering and Technology, and Professor Petra Mutzel from University of Bonn, Germany, Honorable Organizing Committee, Dr. Anton Prihandoko and Professor David, and of course all other committee members, and distinguished invited speaker, Professor Hans L. Bottleinder from Utrecht University and Technical University Eindhoven, the Netherlands, Professor Tiziana Calamonari from University of Rome, Sapienza, Italy, and Professor Takehiro Ito from Tohoku University, Japan. And of course, all dearest WALCOM 2022 participants. Welcome virtually to Universitas Jember, Indonesia. Yeah. I'm speaking on behalf of Organizing Committee of WALCOM 2022. First of all, thanks God for this wonderful moment with joyful happiness to attend even virtually, yeah, the 16th International Conference and Workshop on Algorithm and Computation, WALCOM 2022. Secondly, I would like to thank Pak Rektor Universitas Jember, who has strong commitment to support this conference and other activities related to the scientific publication, either by sending lecturer to attend international conference, hosting international conference like these events, yeah, and also providing intensive incentive, yeah, for paper published in reputable journal. Also, I would like to thank Professor Syaidur Rahman and Professor Petra Mutzel, who have been prepared all stages of the conference, starting from processing the paper submission until publishing in the international reputable proceeding, yeah, as well as guiding us, the organizing committee, in preparing this conference events. Thanks also to Dr. Antonius Cahya Prihandoko, Prof. Dave, Bu Kristiana, and of course all other organizing committee members, yeah, who works very hard to prepare this conference. And of course, thanks all invited speakers and all participants for joining this conference. The conference is held to welcome participants with broad and diverse research interests in the area of algorithms and computation. For your information, this conference is attended by 3 invited speakers and 30 presenters of contributed talks. Altogether, we have 108 participants from 30 countries. The selected paper has been published in the reputable international proceeding, published by Springer and indexed by Scopus, and of course on another reputable journalists. And before I finish my speech, I humble request Pak Rektor Universitas Jember to officially open this conference. I hope you all are enjoying the conference. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
The next speech is a foreword by Program Committee of WALCOM 2022. We invite Professor Saidur Rahman. Please, time is yours.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Honorable Rector of Universitas Jember, Dr. Engineer Yuan Taruna, Organizing Chair Professor Slamin, Program Committee Chair Petra Mujel, and participants of WALCOM 2022 who are joining both offline and online from different time zones. Greetings from Bangladesh. Very good morning in Indonesian time. On behalf of steering committee of WALCOM, I welcome you all to participate WALCOM 2002, the 16th International Conference and Workshops on Algorithms and Computation. I hope you have already enjoyed the traditional dance of Indonesia a lot. As a program committee chair, on behalf of the program committee, I just share some of the statistics of WALCOM 2022. Let me allow to share the slides. Please let me allow to share my slides. So I will show some statistics and analytics of WALCOM 2022. But before going to the statistics and analytics, I would like to briefly introduce the history and that is past performances of WALCOM. Actually, WALCOM 2007 was started in Bangladesh in 2007. Actually, it was started to celebrate the 60th birthday of Professor Takao Nishizaki. And you can see this photo here. And unfortunately, that is, we have already lost two persons from here. This Professor Naim Chaudhuri on the left. He was then the secretary of Bangladesh Academy of Sciences, and Professor Takao Nishizaki here. Actually, the event was that Bangladesh Academy of Sciences was recognizing Professor Takao Nishizaki for his contribution to the computer science education in Bangladesh, because two of his students, after graduating, returned to Bangladesh, and they were working in the universities for promoting the computer science education. And for his contribution, Bangladesh Academy of Sciences recognized him as a foreign fellow of Bangladesh Academy of Sciences. And on that occasion, we started the WALCOM 2007, and from the next year, it was continued with the help of renowned researchers throughout the world, particularly from India, Japan, Germany. we came until this time. And if you see the history of WALCOM, and that 2007 was in Bangladesh, and 2008 was also in Bangladesh. And from the 2008, we published the proceedings of WALCOM in Springer. And that time, Professor Petra Murgel helped a lot for getting the approval of the publication. And then in 2009, WALCOM was organized by ISI Kolkata, India. And after that few years, it was alternately holding in Bangladesh and India. And later in 2016, WALCOM went beyond India and Bangladesh, and it was held in Nepal, and then in Taiwan, and again in Dhaka in India, and then Singapore, Myanmar, and this year it is being held in University of Jember, Indonesia. And by this time, WALCOM has achieved that is worldwide reputation, and you can see that the ranking of WALCOM and its ranking is B in the core conference ranking. So current advisory committee is Professor Kaikobad and Pandurangan. Professor Kaikobad is from Bangladesh and Professor Pandurangan from India. And the current steering committee is Professor Tomal De from Purdue University, Seoki Hong from University of Sydney, Kostas Iliopoulos from KCL, and Giuseppe Liota from University of Perugia, Professor Petra Murgel, University of Bonn, Germany, Professor Shinichi Nakano, Gunma University, Professor Subhash Chandra Nandi from Indian Statistical University Institute, Kolkata, and me from Bangladesh, and Professor Ryohei Uehara from Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, Japan. Now I am focusing on the statistics and analytics of WALCOM 2002, and it is being held in Universitas Jember, and organizing chairs are Professor Dafik, Professor Antonius, and Professor Slamin, and there is a very good team working under their guidance. And program chairs are Professor Petra Murgel and me also in this chair, in this committee, and also Professor Slamin. And these are the list of program committee members. If you see that all these program committee members are different countries, and they are all very renowned in the field of algorithms and computation. But we mentioned that Professor Etsujit Tamita, he was a very active committee member of that is, he was a very active member of program committee. Even when we circulated the call for paper, he gave several suggestions to improve it. But unfortunately, we lost him, and we deeply mourn the sudden death of Professor Etsujit Tamita, and we gratefully remember his contribution to WALCOM. And this is the general statistics. That is, we received 89 submissions, and among these 89 submissions, we accepted only 30 of the submissions, only good quality submissions. Acceptance rate is 0.34, and reviews, we got 286 reviews of this paper. And to review this together with the program committee member, we had 103 external reviewers, and we got 107 external reviews. And if we see that that is number of reviews per paper was at least 3, and we got 3 reviews for 73 papers each, and 4 reviews for 15 papers, and 5 reviews for 2. And this is the pictorial representation of number of submissions of the country. And you can see that we have got the highest submissions from Japan, and followed by India, that is, yeah. And there are several countries here, we got their submissions. And And this is the, as I mentioned, that this is the number of reviews per submissions, and 72 submissions is has 3 reviews, and 15 submissions is has 4 reviews, and we had 2 submissions which had these 5 reviews. And this is the submissions and acceptance rate by the country, and you can mention that Japan, that is, it has highest submission, and also its submission rate is not so high. But we get, if we see here that this is United States, and its submission rate is 0.57, and in what's this country, it is 0.64, and
এটা এখনকার যুগে আরো পরিবর্তন হয়ে যাবে, মা ওভাবে যে নেমন্তন্ন
and I am now happy to declare the Best Paper Award of WALCOM 2022, and was based on the decision of program committee. Actually, among the top ranking, top scored papers, also the program committee members gave vote for that is selecting the Best Paper Award. And I am happy to declare that this paper, Parameterized Complexity of Immunization in the Threshold model by Gennaro Cordasco, Luisa Gargano, and Adeli Resino. They received the best, this paper is selected for the Best Paper Award. Congratulations to them. And also, this paper, that is reverse shortest path problem in weighted unit disk graphs by Haitu Wang and Wiming Zhao, this paper is selected for the Best Student Paper Award. I also congratulate them on the behalf of the program committee. And I must mention that these Best Paper Awards will be sponsored by Springer. And finally, I would like to thank to authors who have submitted papers to WALCOM, and PC members and external reviewers for their hard work in selecting, reviewing, and selecting the papers. And my special thanks goes to the invited speakers of WALCOM 2022, Professor Bodlander, Professor Kalmandri, and Professor Ito. And my thanks and gratitude to the rector of Universitas Jember, Dr. Engineer Iwan Taruna, and we are very grateful that that he has taken all the trouble for organizing this WALCOM in his university, irrespective of many difficulties and obstacles arising from the COVID-19. And I must thank to organizing committee led by Professor Dafik, Professor Antonis, and Professor Slamin. And thank you all for attending, for participating WALCOM 2022. That's all. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
The following agenda is welcoming remarks of WALCOM 2022 by Dr. Engineer Iwan Taruna. Please, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Since the audience are participants coming from over the world, I mean the position in the group are, how to say, very differ. So I should say completely very good morning, afternoon, and evening to all participants. And then please allow me to begin my speech by inviting all of you to be grateful to the God who blessed us with the help this morning that make us able to join and participate in the 16th International Conference and Workshop on Algorithm and Computations. Honorable Program Committee, Organizing Committee, speakers, dear ladies and gentlemen, it is my very great honor to welcome you this morning on behalf of the University of Jember to this conference and workshop that organized by the University of Jember in collaboration with some organizations such as COM, SIGEL, and we call it European Association for Theoretical Computer Science, or ECS Japan chapter. But unfortunately, although the pandemic situation is getting better in Indonesia, we carry out this event via a hybrid method. Yeah, I can realize that it may be due to some reasons, such as variation of current pandemic situation among the countries in the world that make worry the delegates to travel overseas. And the second, maybe there have been a change on the majority of the country participant preferences that maybe that they tend to, like doing conference or workshop via online. But I hope not being like that. Okay, my deepest gratitude I'd like to deliver to the chairman of WALCOM 2022, who is actually my colleague, Professor Slamins, as well as to the WALCOM representative program committee, Honorable Professor Saidur Rahman and Professor Petra Muschel, Professor Saidur Rahman from Bangladesh and Professor Petra Muschel from Germany. Yes, for sure, due to their valuable work and contribution that make today a reality. And then I would like to extend also my special warm welcome to all invited speakers who will talk about the special and timely topics during this conference and workshop. On my note, we will have Professor Hans L. Bootleinder from the Utrecht University and Technical University Eindhoven, Netherlands. And then secondly, from University of Rome, Sapienza, Italy, Professor Tiziana Calamuneri. And then from Asia, we will have Professor Takehiro Ito from Tohoku University, Japan. On behalf of the University of Jember, we will deliver great thanks to all invited speakers who kindly willing to share their expertise and experiences in this forum. Dear participants, ladies and gentlemen, this conference and workshop are aimed to provide an international forum for presentation and discussion among researchers from several countries who work in the areas of algorithm and computations. We all know that such disciplines has played an important role in the recent world advanced development, since it concerns with various disciplines, in the design, implementation, use of mathematical model to analyze and solve scientific problems. In my opinion, by using that, now we have no capabilities to solve the problem found in various scientific disciplines, including biological, physical, social science, engineering, and humanities. In view of that, I'm very happy and proud that University of Jember to be a part of this reputable scientific network. These conferences and workshops are a big event for us, and therefore we expect to further strengthen the step of the University of Jember toward a world-class university. I do encourage this kind of activity because it is relevant to our university vision and mission that expect to be excellent university in the development of science, technology, and art with insight of environmental sustainability, business, and industrial agriculture. Therefore, we hope that this event are able to promote extended opportunity in research collaboration between the lecturer, researchers in the field of algorithm and computation in university of Jember, and the researcher from abroad. Finally, I hope all scientific paper produced and shared during this conference will inspire us to be more productive and also enable further improvement of our works. Once again, on behalf of University of Jember, I'd like to sincerely apologize should there be inconveniences that occurs before, during, or after the event. May God bless us with the very good health. I wish you have a good and enjoyable days. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We would like to invite Rector and Vice Rectors of Universitas Jember to hit the gong as a symbol to officially open this international conference.
By beginning saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, I officially open the international conference and workshop on algorithm and computation 2002, WALCOM 2002.
The next agenda is a praying session. Pray will be led by Mr. Sukron. Please, time is yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Allahumma inna nas'aluka bi anna nashhadu annaka antallahi la ilaha illa anta al-ahadus samad alladzi lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Allahumma inna nas'aluka min khairi kulli ajilihi wa ajilihi wa alimna minhu wa ma lam a'lam wa na'udzu bika minasy syarri kulli ajilihi wa ajilihi ma alimna minhu wa ma lam na'lam. Allahumma inna nas'aluka min khairi ma sa'alaka abduka wa rasuluk wa a'udzu bika min syarri ma 'adza bihi abduka wa nabiyyuk. Allahumma inna nas'aluka al-jannah wa ma qarraba ilaiha min qawlin aw amal wa a'udzu bika minan nar wa ma qarraba ilaiha min qawlin aw amal. Allahumma inna nas'aluka husnul khatimah wa na'udzu bika su'ul khatimah. Allahumma inna nas'aluka husnul khatimah wa na'udzu bika su'ul khatimah. Rabbana zalamna anfusana wa illam taghfir lana wa tarhamna lanakunanna minal khasirin. Subhanaka rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun alal mursalin walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Following agenda is photo sessions. We would like to invite all of our guests to the stage, and also for our online guests, we would like to ask you to prepare your camera. Iya.
Yang foto ya.
Iya. Habis itu udah. Foto, Pak. Okay, please be ready. 1, 2, 3. Once again, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, okay, freestyles. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Ceritanya sudah. Oke, Pak. The next agenda is 5 minutes break. The audience says hello to take a break and prepare for the presentations. The next agenda will be led by the organizing committee.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Hi. The first session starts soon, but I have one question. Is there the second presenter here? Is there
Okay,
you?
good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. May I have your attention, please? Okay, welcome to the Contributor Talk Session 1. Okay, in this session will be led by Mr. Shinichi Nakano. Hello, Mr. Shinichi Nakano. Are you
Hi.
with us?
Hi. May I start now?
Okay, you can start it now. For Mr. Shinichi Nakano, time is yours.
So, I'm Shinichi Nakano from Gunma University. And I am a chair of this first session, very hot session. The session is computer notarial reconfiguration. This session has 3 talks. And the first talk is, please share the slide. Professor Hiroshi Eto, please share your slide here.
Yeah.
The title of first talk is Reconfiguration of Regular Induced Subgraphs. And Hiroshi Eto give a talk. Go ahead.
So let me share my screen with you. Can you see this title slide? Okay. So I start my presentation. I'm Hiroshi Eto from Tohoku University. I will talk about the configuration of regular induced subgraphs. And this is joint work with Yoshiro Ito, Yasuaki Kobayashi, Yota Otachi, and Kunihiro Wasa. And this is outline of this talk like this. Wait. And next, first, let me introduce the configuration problems. The configuration problems arise when we wish to find a step-by-step translation between two feasible solutions of a problem, such that all intermediate results are also feasible. In the reconfiguration problems, we move a token in every time under same rule, and we decide whether there is a configuration sequence from an initial configuration to a target configuration. I will give us an example for the configuration program. In independent set, the configuration under token sliding is defined like this. In the independent set, the configuration program, the input is graph G and independent set S and T of graph G. And the task is to decide whether there is the configuration sequence and the token sliding rule between S and T. I give a small example for independent set reconfiguration. We start independent set as like this. And we call blue vertex in the independent set token. Under token sliding rule, we move a token to adjacent vertex, gives the property of independent set. In this figure, we move this token here in the first step, like this. After the transformation, in this vertex set remains to be independent set, like this. Okay. And we repeatedly move token under token sliding rule like this. Okay, like this. and so on. Like this. Okay. In this example, we can reach target solution T from S by moving to tokens under this sequence. Okay, this sequence. And in this talk, we consider the regular induced subgraph reconfiguration problem. To explain this problem, we introduce the definition of a regular induced subgraph. And we denote by GU subgraph of G induced by vertex subset U. We say that a vertex subset U of graph G is a regular subset of G if GU is regular. And that is the degree of each vertex in GU is exactly D. Okay, exactly. For example, in this figure, vertex set U S1, S2, S3, a subset of U. There is in the subgraph, this in subgraph, three regular in the subgraph because the degree of each vertex is 3, exactly 3. Okay. By choice of B, the regular in the subgraph can represent some well-known graph properties. For example, if T equals 0, a graph irregular in the subgraph corresponding to an independent set of graph like this. This is independence. And if E equals 1, an irregular in the subgraph corresponds to an induced matching of graph G, this graph like this. And if T equals 3, the regular in the subgraph correspond to induced cycle of graph like this. Let me introduce our problem. In the regular induced subgraph reconfiguration problem, the input is graph G and the regular set US and UT of graph G. And task is decide whether there is R sequence between US and UT. And this R is the configuration group. On this problem, we then define two the configuration group, token jumping and token sliding. Under token sliding group, a token can be moved from the current vertex to any other vertex, like this. This token move here, like this. Okay. On the other hand, under token sliding group, a token can be moved from the current vertex to its adjacent vertex, like this. Adjacent vertex like this. Okay. I give us some example for regular induced subgraph reconfiguration under token jumping. Example for a token jumping sequence for the equal 1. And where each vertex in one regular equal 1. Each vertex in one regular sets US and UT. is colored by blue here. Okay. In this figure, is there a token jumping sequence between US and UT? The answer is yes. Answer is yes. In this figure, we move this token here in the first step like this. Okay. And translation, after the translation, this text set we move to be one regular in this subgraph. That is in this matching. We repeatedly move token under token jumping loop like this. And so on. In this example, we can search target solution US and UT by moving token under this sequence like this. Next, under token sliding move. I give some example. Example 2. Example token sliding sequence for D equal 1. In this figure, is there a token sliding between token sliding sequence between US and UT? The answer is no. So even if in the same instance, the configuration sequence differ by the configuration rules. Okay. Let me talk about. Let me introduce related work and our results. Let me show related work of the configuration work of regular in the subgraph the configuration. Independent set the configuration equivalent to zero regular in the subgraph the configuration. This problem is one of the most well-studied configuration problem. And click reconfiguration can be seen as a special case of regular in the subgraph configuration, because a click of size k is k minus 1 regular subgraph, regular graph. For example, click of size 4 is 3 regular in the subgraph like this. Okay. In this talk, we focus on causal graphs and bipartite graphs. A graph is bipartite if its vertex set can be partitioned into two independent sets like this. And a graph is causal if every cycle of length at least 4 has code. Let me show related work for D equals 0, and that is independent. On causal graph, the two reconfiguration loop to make a significant difference for D equal 0. This problem on causal graph is space complete under token sliding rule, and problem I solved up under token jumping rule. That's like this. And on bipartite graphs, this problem is space complete under token sliding, but will be complete under token jumping. Our results are summaries of T is one or more. In this table together with D equal known result for D equal 0. On bipartite, on Coda graphs, both TS and T2, token sliding and token jumping rule have the same complexity. For D is one or more. On the other hand, there are different debate for D equals 0, like this. On bipartite graph, the complexity for D is one or more, so a kind of reverse phenomenon from T equals 0. And the problem becomes easier under token sliding, but becomes harder under token jumping. And let me talk about our results on bipartite graphs and token jumping. For D is one or more. This problem is solved in polynomial time. We observe the triviality under token sliding. For example, for T equal 1, token T1 and T2 are connected component in this graph like this. Token T1 move adjacent vertex like this, like this under token sliding. Then this component is disconnected because token 1 and token 2 are included in same independent set like this. Therefore, degree of each token is not 1. Okay, not 1. And for D is 1 or more. If a token move adjacent vertex under token sliding rule, then degree of the token is not D. Therefore, in bipartite graphs, trivial token sliding sequence exists. This is summary of this talk. And we also studied connected version of regular induced subgraph reconfiguration. In the connected regular induced subgraph reconfiguration program, see the input is graph G and connected regular induced subgraphs connected irregular set US and UT of G. The task is to decide whether there is a sequence on the configuration loop between US and UT. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. I have a very small time for question. Are there any question, suggestion, comment? So for this induced subgraph reconfiguration problem, even if we restrict the host graph, the problem is very difficult. Say P space complete or NP complete. So what happens if we restrict the size of subgraph? Say if the size of subgraph is constant, then we can solve such reconfiguration problem efficiently.
ah, so if constant size,
Yeah.
but maybe this was complete because on code sorry, I cannot explain about. I cannot answer this question. Sorry.
Okay. So it's time. Thank you for a good presentation.
Thank you
So
very much.
we go next talk. So could you share the first page of slide? Say, Professor Ani, could you share the first page
Okay.
of your slide?
Okay.
The title of next talk is Traversability, Reconfiguration, and Reachability in the Gadget Framework. And Joshua Ani give a talk. Go ahead.
Okay. So here we'll be talking about alternate victory conditions in the gadget framework, including conditions like universal traversal and reconfiguration. So before we talk about results, let's introduce some preliminaries. So a gadget contains some ports, some states, and some traversals. A port is just a location that an agent can visit, and they're highlighted in orange. A state is a state that the gadget can be in. For example, the one here can have a traversal pointing right or one pointing left, depending on which state is in. And a traversal is when the agent goes from one port to another, which can change the state of the gadget. So in this case, you have a one toggle, and if the agent makes the only traversal is available, it flips direction. So it can go back and forth, but it can't go in the same direction twice. One property that gadgets can have is that they can be reversible deterministic, which means that every traversal sequence can be reversed. And also the agent does not get to choose which state they result in when they make a traversal. So for results, actually not yet. So first, I'm going to talk about reachability, which is not one of the alternate victory conditions. This is the main one. So reachability is, can you reach a target location from a start location? So gadgets can be connected up together to form a network. And this question asks whether you can go from one place to another in the network. So as it turns out, this is for reversible deterministic gadgets. If there's no interacting tunnels, which means that, if there's interacting tunnels, which means that there's a tunnel you can cross that will change the traversability of a different tunnel, then it's p-space complete. But if those don't exist, which means that when you cross the traversal, when you cross the tunnel that it changes the traversability of is the same one, then it's an NL. So another type of gadget is the bounded gadget. In a bounded gadget, you can make only a constant number of traversals before it disappears. A constant number of meaningful traversals. So those are always in NP because of that. But if there's a forced distant closing, which means that traversing one tunnel closes another, then it's NP complete. And if there's a distant opening, which means that traversing one tunnel opens another, and there's a directed tunnel, then it's also NP complete. So one of the alternate victory conditions we consider is universal traversal, which is, can you make a traversal in every gadget? For reversible deterministic gadgets, oh, come on. For reversible deterministic gadgets, it's the same as in reachability. If there's no interacting tunnels, then you simply find a path to each gadget, and that's possible because each traversal can change only the traversability of itself, so the path won't get ruined by you traversing a gadget with multiple tunnels. And after reaching each gadget, you return to the start location. If there's interacting tunnels, it's p-space hard by a reduction from reachability. And for each, to do this, when you get to the win location, you should be able to reach every gadget that you haven't reached before. And so we attach this contraption to make sure that you can reach every gadget that you haven't reached before. So now for bounded gadgets. So first we have one state gadgets where you can't make any traversals that change the traversability of anything. So they're either just undirected paths or directed paths. Reachability is always an NL because of reduction to ST connectivity, but universal traversal can sometimes be NP hard. In particular, if there's 3 directed paths, then we can reduce from 3 set. The variable allows you to choose one of 2 paths to take. And when you take a path, you could visit one of the traversals in a clause. But if there's less than or equal to 2 directed tunnels, excuse me, if there's a directed tunnel and there's at least 3 tunnels, then it's NP complete. If there's a directed tunnel and at most 2 tunnels, then it's an NL by reduction to 2 set. And if there are no directed tunnels, then it's an L because it just becomes an undirected graph. So there's other cases of bounded gadgets. And if there's at least 2 tunnels and it's deterministic and it's a DAG gadget, which means that there's a finite number of traversals you can make, even if you include the ones that do nothing, then it's NP complete. One case is the distant opening. One case is the distant opening. And for that one, we attach a method of reaching unreached gadgets, similar to what we did for reversible deterministic gadgets. And this one takes advantage of distant openings. You could also have a forced distant closing, and that's a reduction from 3 regular directed Hamiltonicity, where the arrow shown is the direction that it closes in. So you can take, so this is just one of the gadgets that's used. This is the fan in gadget. You can take the top traversal or continue, or the bottom one and continue. But you can't do this. You could also try going the other way, but that means you're forced to go the other way for the entire path you want to attack. So as for the other cases, you can have at least 2 directed edges, in which case we also do a reduction from the regular directed Hamiltonicity. We have all undirected edges, in which case we do a reduction from the regular undirected Hamiltonicity. And the gadget that's actually used is more complicated than this. And if there's a directed edge, then we give another edge a direction to reduce it to one of the cases talked about before. So the next, the other alternate victory condition is reconfiguration. This can reach a target configuration of the gadgets. So we'll show that it can be PCSR'd when reachability is an NL. So one gadget that will help here is a one toggle that requires extra players to traverse it. This is just a helper gadget, and it is possible to simulate these extra players, as will be shown later. So for example, the agent, which is in red, can take this traversal, and then one of the extra players can help the agent to finish their traversal. There's also a version of this that is a locking to toggle, which is the one that was shown way back. And this one also uses extra players. And if you have both, and if you have this gadget and the extra players at each one of these two and these multiplayer locking two toggles, then reconfiguration is p-space complete. So there's a way to simulate these extra players, and it involves taking a traversal, it involves taking a one toggle and attaching it to every location so that the agent can simulate other players as they're taking their path. So one fun fact about reconfiguration is that it can be easier than reachability. For example, you can take the labeled two-tunnel single-use gadget, where one traversal leads to state 2 and one traversal leads to state 3, but states 2 and 3 are the same. So reachability for this is NP complete, but reconfiguration is NP because saying what the target configuration is gives away which path you should take, since state 2 and state 3 are technically different. So to summarize the results for universal traversal, if you have a k-tunnel reversible deterministic gadget, then the complexity is the same as reachability. If you have one state, it could be NP complete if there's a directed tunnel and there's at least 3 tunnels. And if there's at least 2 tunnels and it's a deterministic DAG gadget, then it's always NP complete. For reconfiguration, some non-interacting reversible deterministic gadgets are p-space complete, even though they're in NL for reachability, but sometimes reconfiguration can be easier than reachability. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you. So we have 6 minutes for discussion. Are there any question, suggestion, anything? So I start one question, okay? Okay. So this framework model many video game, right?
Yes.
So give me some example. Which video game can model in this way?
So, for example,
yeah,
reachability is the main one that's used to model video games, and
I think there are many famous video games which belong to this framework. I expect.
Okay.
Is it true?
Yeah, but say reachability is the main one used to model video games, and it models games where the player moves around, like Mario games. Can also model Sokoban.
Sokoban,
Yeah, in reconfiguration, you can model Sokoban as well.
Sokoban belong to this framework?
And saying the framework can be used to model Sokoban.
So my next question is, how about universal traversal condition? Sokoban is related to some reachability condition, right?
Reachability and reconfiguration.
Yeah. How about, are there any popular TV game or video game which have universal traversal condition?
Don't have
could you say again?
I don't have an example yet.
Yeah, so we don't have examples for the universal traversal condition, but this framework in general has been used for things like Super Mario Galaxy, Legend of Zelda, and a number of other popular games across various papers.
In Super Mario, Mario have to traverse every possible location?
So for universal traversal, we don't have examples yet, but you can
okay.
Yeah. And saying for universal traversal, we don't have examples yet. We have examples for reconfiguration and reachability.
So we have 3 more minutes for discussion. Are there any question, suggestion? Okay. So thank you your talk. We have a 3-minute break. Okay, next talk start at 11:10. So 3-minute break. Thank you. So is Ronama Islam Nishat here?
Yes.
Could you share your first page of your slide?
Sure.
Could you share? Yeah. Your talk will start at 11:10. So I think it's time. So please go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Rahnuma Islam Nishat. I'm presenting the paper One Complex ST Hamiltonian Paths, Structure and Reconfiguration in Rectangular Grids. This is a joint work with Dr. Venkatesh Srinivasan and Dr. Sue Whitesides from University of Victoria. Sorry. So in this paper, we present the structure of one complex ST Hamiltonian paths in rectangular grid graphs. And then we give an algorithm to reconfigure between such paths using the structure that we establish. So first we'll define rectangular grid graphs and one complex ST Hamiltonian paths. Then we will go briefly over the structure of such paths. Finally, we'll give the reconfiguration algorithm. So this is a rectangular grid graph with
Recording stopped.
M rows and columns, and the outer boundary is a rectangle, and the boundary is divided into 4 segments: west, east, north, and south. And the top right and top left and bottom right corners are S and T, which would be the starting and ending points of all our Hamiltonian cycles. So this is an ST Hamiltonian path in a rectangular grid graph. And if you look closely, you'll see that every grid point here is connected to one of the boundaries using a single segment on the path. So because it uses just one single
Recording
segment,
in progress.
One complex ST Hamiltonian path. Now we briefly go over the structure of one complex paths. We first define some terminology. An internal subpath is a path that starts from one boundary and ends at another boundary point, maybe on a different boundary, maybe on the same boundary, but all the other vertices of the path are internal to the grid. For example, this is a corner separator because it cuts off a corner, the corner containing S, vertex S. This is a cross separator because it has both these points on 2 boundaries that are across from each other. And because it does not have any bend, we call it a straight separator. This is another type of cross separator, but it is a bend separator because of these bends. And if both the endpoints are on the same boundary, we call it a cookie. So this is the first cross separator, and this is the last cross separator when we go on this path from S to T. And starting from S up to the starting point of the first cross separator, we call the subpath initial subpath. Starting from the end of last cross separator up to T, we call that subpath the final subpath. And the rest of the subpath we call middle subpath. So the initial subpath and the final subpath, they have the same structure and includes cookies and some corner separators. But we will focus more on the middle subpath in this talk. So in the middle subpath, we have cross separators that goes from north boundary to south boundary, assuming that our paths visits alpha, the corner alpha before beta. So we will have north to south cross separator and south to north cross separator. And these are all the different forms that can occur for these types of separators. And we have defined a relationship and automaton for all these forms. It shows which forms can follow which forms. For example, a form A south to north separator can be followed by only a form H or a form I. H in turn can be followed by either form A or form E. And the same goes for all of them. And using these relationships shown in this graph, we can populate a middle subpath or study the structure of the middle subpath. Now, reconfiguring Hamiltonian paths, this asks the following question. Given 2 one complex paths here, can we go from P1 to P2 using some operation? And in this paper, we talk about pairs of switch operations that we use for reconfiguration. Before we go into our results, I would like to talk about related work in this area. So Hamiltonian paths and cycles in grid graphs have been studied for a long time. It started with the seminal paper by Itai, Papadimitriou, and Short-Peter. Everett later studied existence of Hamiltonian paths in non-rectangular grids. Collins and Crumpert gave generating functions for narrow grids, and Ruskin and Sawada studied bent Hamiltonian cycle. Reconfiguration of Hamiltonian cycles have attracted some attention in recent years. Takaoka studied the complexity of reconfiguring Hamiltonian cycles using switch operations, single switch operations. Legnos also studied reconfiguration problem of Hamiltonian cycles under the switch operation. We gave linear time reconfiguration algorithm for one complex Hamiltonian cycles in grid graphs without holes. In reconfiguring Hamiltonian paths, to the best of our knowledge, only one previous work has been done, and that was published in IOCA last year. So in that paper, we introduced simple ST Hamiltonian paths and gave linear time reconfiguration algorithms using pairs of switch operation. However, a simple ST Hamiltonian path, as shown here, is a subclass of one complex paths where we have cookies and corner separators, straight separators, but no bend separators. And that makes the structure much simpler, especially the middle subpath. And that in turn requires a simpler reconfiguration strategy, as we will explain later. Our motivation for studying this problem is mostly theoretical, but note that it has applications in path planning, robot navigation, additive manufacturing, and even polymer science. So when we think about reconfiguring one complex paths, we think about this graph where each of the vertices is a Hamiltonian ST Hamiltonian path of G, not necessarily one complex. And based on some operation, in our case, pairs of switch operation, and there is an edge between two Hamiltonian paths if a pair of switch operation reconfigures one to the other. And in this way, we populate all the edges and we ask this question, is there a path between the two input one complex paths? So a single switch operation in an embedded path in a grid graph does this if the two vertical edges were contributed by the path, then the switch operation switches it to two horizontal edges and vice versa. But why are we talking about a pair of switch operation? Because the path is embedded and the graph is embedded, a single switch operation on an ST Hamiltonian path actually breaks it down into two components, an ST path and a cycle that collectively covers all the grid vertices. So to get another ST Hamiltonian path, we have to apply another switch operation so that one of the edges, for example, in F prime here, one of the edges is contributed by the ST path that was created when we switched the edges on F. And the other edge on F prime is from the cycle. And when we do the switch, then it merges the cycle and the path into one ST Hamiltonian path. We have to be careful because if we switch some other cell like F double prime, where both the edges comes from the same component, it will break the cycle path cover into even more components. So when we go talking about reconfiguration algorithm, we need a mechanism to pair the switch operations so that we don't create more components. Every pair of switch operation gives us an ST Hamiltonian path. So we have given a mechanism to pair the switch operations, and we call it a zip operation. So this is how a zip works. We place a line on a row or a column extending from Q1 to Q2. Both the endpoints are on boundaries across from each other. And it is incident to two tracks. So a track is a pair of adjacent rows or columns. And one of these tracks, in this case, the green one, we call it a cookie track, and the other one is a side track. And then we walk from Q1 to Q2 on the zip line and find the first switchable cell that has edges perpendicular to the zip line in the cookie track. When we find one, we keep walking and search for the next one in the side track. So these two makes a pair. If we switch one of them, we create a cycle and a path. And when we switch the other one, we merge the two components into one ST Hamiltonian path again. So in this way, we keep walking from Q1 to Q2 and find all the pairs that we can find. Note that not all of the pairs share a vertex. For example, this pair, the last pair here, they are far apart from each other, and that is a difference that we can see in one complex paths because of the band separators. Because in simple ST Hamiltonian path in our previous work, all the pairs that we switched were sharing a vertex. So the zip operation applies zips to all of the switchable cells, and that creates this nice structure, a cookie that extends from one boundary to the other one. And it would be very nice if we could do that for the whole path, but we'll see later that it's not so simple because of all the separators. And we have to find a strategy to break down the big problem into smaller problems that are solvable using zips. So the big idea behind our algorithm is that we go through these canonical ST Hamiltonian paths, which contains only straight separators, no cookies or no bend separators, corner separators, anything. So we can transform P1 to P3, we transform P2 to P4, and if P3 and P4 are different paths, we transform P3 to P4. And then finally, we can just reverse the steps that were taken to reconfigure P2 to P4 to complete the transition. So we give an example to demonstrate the ideas behind our algorithm. We said that we cannot always put a zip line anywhere in the path and do zip from one boundary to the other. And we'll show that later a little bit in detail. So that's why we break it down into smaller problems. We call them subrectangles. So this is how we do it. We remove all the straight separators and edges incident to them. And then some of the subrectangles might not have ST paths, so we make adjustments like adding dummy columns or flipping them along the boundary to have ST path for each of the subrectangles. And then we extend the subrectangles like this. And then the next step is reconfiguring each of the extended subrectangles into a canonical form of them on their own. And this is one of we are showing with one example here. So this is the first one. We have taken it S equals S1 here, S to T1, and we are going to reconfigure it. So we put a zip line in row 1, we do the zip, and we get this nice long cookie. We sweep the zip line 2 rows down and do another zip, and we sweep it down and do another zip, and in this way we get to a canonical form. So notice that we can always we were able to zip and sweep and we get to a canonical form without getting stuck anywhere. But if there were straight separators, sometimes that's not possible. That's why we remove the straight separators to break it into rectangular problems that can be solved in this way, and we won't get stuck at any point. The next step is reassembling the reconfigured subrectangles. So we remove the dummy edges or flip them back if necessary, and then get back all the add all the edges back that were removed to create the subrectangle. So all the straight separators here are back and the edges incident to them. And finally, we do another zip and sweep to get to the final canonical form that we wanted to go. And the same technique is used to go from one canonical path to the other, zip and sweep. So this is how we do it. as you have seen before, put the zip line in row 1, do zip, and then sweep 2 rows down, do another zip, and like this. You keep on doing that until you get to the desired form. So in summary, we defined one complex ST Hamiltonian paths and established the structure of such paths. We defined a zip operation, which gives us a mechanism to pair switch operation on embedded Hamiltonian paths. And using the zip and the structure theorem, we gave an algorithm to reconfigure between any two one complex ST Hamiltonian paths in a rectangular grid graph using order of m pairs of switch operations. However, the intermediate steps of our reconfiguration algorithm are not necessarily one complex. So this problem remains open. Can we find a reconfiguration algorithm so that the intermediate steps are one complex? And we would like to do that using pairs of switch operation, or maybe we can find any other local operation so that for reconfiguration. Some general directions of research could be grids with arbitrary outer boundary, or maybe increase the complexity of path where each grid point can be connected to a boundary point using at most k segments for greater than 1. Or we can consider Hamiltonian paths with arbitrary pairs of endpoints. We can consider other grids or higher dimensions. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, please ask me. I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, we have 3 or 4 minutes for discussion. Are there any questions? So may I start? So my intuition, can you improve the number of switch to MN, not order MN? Can you improve the number of switch to just MN, not order MN?
So in our algorithm, we could, that would be very nice, but our algorithm does not always do that because we go through canonical paths. If we could go directly from one path to the other, probably it would have been possible, but we are still searching for that. We don't have the answer.
So my next question is, what do you call the structure cookie? Why you call the structure cookie?
Oh,
it does not like cookie.
No, it does not, because it's a one complex and it just have 3 segments on it. But when the complexity gets higher, like a path, any grid point can be connected to a boundary point with more than 1 segment, then it takes interesting shapes, like sometimes like a tree, like a Christmas cookie or something. So it just looks like something was cut out of a dough. So that's why we call it a cookie.
Okay. So are there any questions?
There is a question in chat box.
I can see the question. The question is, typically we use one intermediate configuration. Is there a reason we transform from one canonical path to another canonical path here? And it was asked by Dr. Debojyoti Mondo. Thank you, Debojyoti, for your question. The answer is that we use 2 canonical paths here because the starting both the input graphs are not necessarily they have like vertical cross separators. They can have horizontal cross separators or vertical cross separators based on the number of rows and number of columns in the grid. So sometimes we do need 2 canonical paths in our algorithm.
Okay, I see that. Thank you very much.
We still have 1 minute. Are there any short questions? Okay. So thank you for the nice talk.
Thanks.
So now we have lunch break, 1 hour. So see you later, 1 hour.
Okay, thank you very much for all of the presenter and Mr. Shinichi Nakano as a chair in this contributed talk session 1. The next agenda is a lunch break. We have about 1 hour for break, and we will start again at 12:30 with the contributed talk 2. Okay, see you then.
Recording stopped.